Welcome to the On the Air podcast. Today, we're thrilled to have Alexis Rockenbach with us. He's the global CEO of Air Group, a company leading with a change in AI-driven transformation and global enterprises. Under Alexis's leadership, AI Group is pushing the boundaries with groundbreaking AI platforms, accelerators, and powerhouse service brands. Over 7,000 specialists across brands, AI Group is really reshaping industries and setting the new standards for AI-powered innovation and productivity. Welcome, Alexis. How are you?
Hey, Uli. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. I would like to dive in because we have a lot of questions and talks about AI. So the first question is, how is really Agentic AI is changing the day-to-day work of software engineers? Are we moving away from the coding line by line towards more of a role where engineers guide and coordinate intelligent systems?
Uli, what we have been seeing from all of our engineering teams is that more and more there are tools out there and models that can help our engineering teams to execute relevant portions of their work 10 times, 20 times faster with a higher quality by using an agentic AI approach. This means having their engineering capabilities supported by tools that they can deliver pieces of their work. So the work still has to be done. Someone still has to validate. Someone has to make sure that that code is safe, that it is aligned with the business users' expectations. So there are so many nuances in this process where the human skills are extremely relevant, but definitely a large portion of the tasks that engineers would have to do from scratch, taking them many times hours or days to execute, now are being executed in minutes by agentic AI. So it's definitely changing the way software engineers work, at least the way efficient software engineers work today is being deeply impacted, positively impacted by AI, allowing them to do much more than they did in the past.
Absolutely. And I feel that we as a consulting company always bring more value by really focusing on shortening the development cycle, right? And helping really rethink how the senior engineers spending their time and what they really put their efforts on. Question about AI agents. You know, if AI agents start handling big parts of the software development process, how do you see human creativity, oversight, and even ethics continuing to play a role in this process?
For each of these different steps that are part of the software development lifecycle, and here we are talking about things like requirements gathering with business users so that you understand what are the expected business outcomes from that particular application that you are building. There is a space where creativity is a relevant piece. You need to understand a business problem, and you need to come out of that understanding what are the business requirements behind that business problem, and then based on that, think of what are the right technologies to implement the solution that will better address those business expectations, right? So for that specific task, for example, that is just one example of one of the steps that is part of the software engineering lifecycle, there still is a lot of business understanding and in that knowledge that comes in part from data, right? And that is a space where agentic AI will do an amazing work. It will use all data available on the business requirements or related to the business requirements and help the engineer who is designing or ideating the solution that is to be built. These agentic AI tools will do those portions of work. However, there still will be the need of guiding the AI agents with the right questions, with the right prompts, with the right training, so that in the end, what you are getting from that agent is something that is aligned with what you really are expecting to deliver to your business users or to any stakeholder who is interacting with you in that process. So here we're talking about one of your topics in the question, which is creativity, right? The other topic, which is ethics that you brought up, or we could expand that and go into aspects of reliability or confidentiality that are super important, especially when we talk about enterprise grade customers, right? That need to be super cautious about the things they are embedding into these AI platforms so that they are not hallucinating in front of their end consumers, for example. So there's a lot of validation and review that has to be done by engineers, but definitely the hard work of, for example, doing a vulnerability scan on 5,000 lines of code. That is something that an agent can do much faster, and perhaps it will not do 100% of the job, but it will help the engineer to cover that on a much shorter time. And that goes into all the things that we could think of being part of the process of designing an application and thinking about the ethics of the system that is being built, thinking about the confidentiality issues or any other aspect are super, super important. And it's a combination of AI agents coming to do tasks that enable these engineers to execute their work in front of our customers much faster and on a much more fun way as well, because we are spending more and more of our time helping customers really solve their business issues. And this is where I think the added value of what we provide is at its highest level of contribution.
No, absolutely. In the summary, it's really a balancing act, right? And it's also high visibility opportunities and tasks that engineers probably didn't have time to spend on because they were so busy with day-to-day activities. And now with combination of things, you can actually also focus on ethics and look at business value and business purpose, right, of what engineer is building. Let's talk a little bit about agentic AI. So a lot of companies are experimenting with generative AI, but not as many thinking seriously about agentic AI. Where do you expect the first real breakthrough to happen? And how can companies really position themselves to lead?
Gen AI initial hype came through chatbots, right? This is the way we learned to interact with these foundation models using these chat interfaces, right? That is just the tip of the iceberg because we are just exploring, answering questions or answering requests that a human is providing to this model through a chat interface, right? So in the last 2.5 years, companies in all industries, they have done exploration, and the majority of their exploration was on these use cases, right? How do we bring this chat type of interfaces to be helping business users, engineers, professionals to interact with these foundation models? In the last, I would say 1 year, is when we really started to talk about agentic AI. That is going much deeper into the capabilities of what foundation models can provide, because it is not only about having a chat interface, it's about embedding Gen AI capabilities on end-to-end business processes. So think of an AI agent as someone who is executing a series of tasks supporting a human professional, right? That is much more complex than like implementing a simple chatbot solution. So that requires companies to go into their business processes, to drill them down into each of the different transactional systems, external third-party applications, and APIs that are part of that process, databases, data models, and build things that are more sophisticated and that require another level of skill sets. So this is why, in first place, Agentic AI is still just in its early stages, because it's just more recently, and I would say basically it's this year, that companies have really embraced understanding the complexity and the business cases where they can implement Agentic AI. That is something that is starting to pick up super quickly. And we see customers right now going deep into prioritizing what I would call their business operations back-end activities instead of the customer-facing ones when you talk about Agentic AI. Because if you are talking to your end consumer, you want to build something that is really, I would say, as perfect as possible in not making mistakes, in not misguiding your end consumer, because it could have a super high cost if you happen to give a wrong information to your end consumer. When it comes into looking into internal processes in organizations, back-end activities, on all areas that you could imagine. Let's think of a retail company. They would have supply chain, demand planning, all sorts of content management activities. All these activities are activities where the risk of a mistake is not as serious as the one when you are interfacing directly with an end consumer. So more and more you will see now in this initial phase, I would say in the next 1 or 2 years, more and more of what our customers are right now seeing, which is using Agentic AI in these business operations back-end processes to improve them in a way that they can spend less time, less money to execute the same type of work and do much more with higher quality, with better outcomes, while they are learning the technology. And at some point, I'm sure you will see more and more of that precision on these Agentic AI solutions being grounded on the transactional systems that are behind them, so that then you could have super exciting customer-facing Agentic AI solutions out there as well.
No, absolutely. I feel like some customers right now facing overload of work. Actually, you think it would be less, but right now they're dealing with more work to actually reshape every single aspect of your technology and infrastructure to be ready to embrace the Agentic AI projects. And with that, my question is, when companies bring AI, Agentic AI into their business, what are the biggest shifts that you've seen leaders and teams need to make beyond just plugging in a new technology? How do we balance that workload so they can actually adopt it faster and move to the next level?
So it's about enablement. It's about change management. We are living through a revolution in the way any white-collar job is executed, and even blue-collar jobs are being impacted there as well, right? So when you think of all these changes that are so fast and that disrupt so much of the way people work, there's a super challenging environment to deal with change management and to deal with preparing the workforce to understand how to better use these technologies, to understand how to do it safely, ethically. So I would say that the number one challenge that companies will be more and more facing from now on as they move deeper into Agentic AI is starting by educating and enabling their teams, providing the right frameworks and architectures for AI so that those become like programmatic initiatives within organizations instead of siloed initiatives from different departments. So this is where the enterprise thinking of how to deploy these solutions connects with the need of educating people and training them So even if we think of our work, so we are, as you said, a software engineering consulting firm. Most of our team members are software engineers that are thinking about business problems from our customers and are using the tools that they always used, and now they have new tools. So we as a company have been supporting our engineering teams to embrace these new technologies, providing training, providing certification, providing continuous education, providing metrics to evaluate what are the outcomes that we are getting out of these technologies so that we can guide people on what is more efficient, what is not. Going through your question, I think it's about enabling, creating the right frameworks and structures so that the change management is happening with a programmatic enterprise-wide initiative.
No, thank you. Thank you, Alexis. I've been thinking about it all the time, right? With how does the workforce changes and how do we adapt as a consulting company with 7,000 people around the globe and looking at new generation, right? They're getting six-figure jobs where there is an AI title, but they only had 3 years of experience and jumping into the big tech, redefining and reshaping some of the most innovative companies. So question to you, how do we balance it between our senior engineers, right? 10, 20 years of experience who've been in deep tech and deep data learning, and also embracing the young generation of technologists that are just stepping out of the universities, learning AI within 6 months course, they are up to speed and they can actually do a lot of tasks. So how do we balance it? And where do you see future of engineers that are just starting and to evolve, and how do they enter into the tech world?
I love that question, Uli, because there are opinions out there about like AI is killing the entry-level jobs, or there are opinions that people who are not coming with a really new way of thinking cannot adapt and cannot learn. I disagree with both. What I see is that more and more, it's about combining what each team member, if you are in an organization, what each team member brings at their best, right? If you think about the capabilities that the super experienced senior engineers that have been doing their job in the last 20, 25, 30 years, building their own code with their hands, and all the experience that comes with that, if you help them navigate and understand the new tools, that experience that they bring will be extremely relevant, because in the end, you will have the agentic AI tools building code, but someone needs to be accountable on the decision of moving that code forward to production, right? On the other hand, you have these super young kids, many of them not even in college, coming out of high school, having 3 or 4 years or 5 years of coding experience, but they have learned coding, having been using these tools since day one, right? So they bring a different breadth of ideas on how to use these tools that perhaps the senior engineers are not as prepared in their DNA, right? And what we are doing as a company is getting the best out of both, right? Is combining the experience of every single engineer that we have here. So even if you are working the same way for 20 or 30 years, if you are part of our team, you are being incentivized right now to be embracing these new technologies and making sure that you are using them at your best. At the same time, through our scholarships and fellowships programs with more than 280 universities across the Americas, what we are doing right now is shaping this new AI workforce talent exactly for those entry-level jobs. And what we are seeing is that these engineers, they come and they immediately are delivering, in many cases, the quality that you would not expect to come from a junior developer without these technologies. So I think everyone is benefiting from it, and we have embraced that as our core strategy to keep providing value to our customers. So what we are doing is we are blending the capabilities that come from our more senior engineers and supporting them in their enablement, going to universities and going to high schools to find the new generation of talent, and having them working together in helping our customers to have our support in guiding them on how to improve this, as I mentioned earlier, on a programmatic enterprise-wide approach, because it is not only about changing the mindset of individuals, it is about changing the way you as an enterprise support your own business survival, right? So I think this is where we are, super excited. I think everyone benefits from it. If you are spending the right time, going to the right education and going to the right processes, I think more and more we will see all new types of professionals that are being augmented by AI, recognizing that, and we are super happy to be part of that transformation, and supporting our customers to navigate through it.
For sure, Alexis, and thank you for being like open-minded about these things, because sometimes there's one strategy and then you can't really blend it. It's hard for from culture of the organization. Also, we're creating new roles and titles, which I think creates a new wave of blending really AI, agentic AI and prompting and other things into the job descriptions, where you really feel, okay, this is part of my job, so they feel empowered. And last question is a little more technical, and you used the phrase compound AI systems, right, in the previous interactions. How does that really relate to agentic AI, and what does it actually mean for enterprises, especially in business processes where autonomous agents may soon interact directly with transactional systems and platforms?
Compound AI systems is a reference to an article from a research group at Berkeley. It is, I think, from 2023, and it describes the early stages of what we are seeing right now in terms of agentic AI. So when we think about end-to-end business processes, and just I will give one example, like if you are working on customer service, right? And you have a customer calling you, you will have a series of iterations from the AI agent that are going through different data sources, through different data systems, data platforms, third-party solutions, ERPs, supply chain solutions. Think of all the applications that you could think in the digital space. They are all part of this business process, right? And now you have an AI agent that is going through all those steps, and you have human interactions in between many of these steps. So the concept of compound AI systems is exactly what we are talking when we are talking about complex AI agents, because they come to integrate and improve the way humans interact in an end-to-end business process. So what we would call a few years ago, these digital platforms, right? You have an app, and then you have a back-end system, and they are interacting, and then you have a user interacting with the front end. Now you expand that to have AI agents that are navigating all these steps, and those steps are built in these compound AI systems. So it is a different way of helping to explain what more complex multi-agentic AI applications are, where they are the interface and the orchestrator for humans and systems to execute tasks much faster, smarter, and in much more efficient ways.
No, amazing, Alexis. And I think the last question, personal question, what is the most amazing AI tool that you personally use and you feel like this one is really a game changer for me and for your day-to-day?
Right now, the main use that I have for my interactions with foundation models is on improving the ideas that I happen to have, right? So the beautiful thing about that is that when you are interacting with a foundation model that is already super smart, it is amazing how out of a quick starting point from an idea, it can drill down your idea into a plan with actions that, of course, many times will have your review or your input. But I think the most amazing, as an individual, I'm talking right now, right? The most amazing outcome that I've been getting from Gen AI right now is the way it has improved my capabilities to transform ideas into actionable plans to be executed. I think that's my answer to your question.
That's fantastic, Alexis. Thank you so much. We're at the time. It was great listening to you and really identifying ways to really help younger professionals, but also the people that have been in an industry and really reshape the way everybody's embracing AI and in day-to-day, especially global consulting firm where you have to really stay on top of technology and changing how everybody's seeing Agentic AI and implementing it. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Uli. It was a pleasure talking to you once more.